Pokemon Regional Championships. In this match, we're taking 2 players who are currently 5-1. The winner is guaranteed to be playing in Top Cut tomorrow. So we're going to have on the left Jeremy Rodrigues and on the right Chongjun Peng.
Yeah, saw Jeremy earlier today running that Zerndon Cresselia core, something that I don't think I would have expected to see today. I would have asked you who traveled in the future from 2016.
Right, that's exactly what we said in round 1.
And where's the bronze on? Where's the good old BBC core? But I guess we kind of see that's kind of been the story today. Ian talking about how he took the old 2016 like Kangaskhan Smeargle Xerneas core, updated it to now. We see this with the
Cresselia getting updated to now.
So, but then his opponent, Chongjun, kind of been nothing about 2016 whatsoever. It's kind of a team that's really, I guess, resurged today, honestly.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of this SpaceX archetype going on. With the Lunala and Xerneas. We've seen several of those throughout the stream today. So, it's exciting. We're seeing our first Lucario on stream. That's cool.
Yeah, Lucario's really cool Pokemon that carried a lot of hype. I guess a lot of hype in Ultra Series. And just this new game in general because of the addition of the move Meteor Mash. However, it's really just been kind of limited to this Lunala Xerneas core, and even then we don't really see it a whole lot. Like, we even saw Gallade earlier today. We've seen Kangaskhan, which is the more common Mega Pokemon.
Exactly.
But Lucario, been around on this core for as long as it's been a core. So, and it's got a really good matchup here against Jeremy, honestly. A lot of damage to Incineroar, a lot of damage to Xerneas, a lot of damage to Tapu Fini. Just a lot of damage in general.
Yeah, that adaptability boosted, steel-type attacks are no joke in this format. So Lucario's speed is pretty respectable, it'll be slower than Mega Salamence, but outside of that, it's going to be the fastest non-boosted thing on the field, which gives it, a lot of options to, hit first.
Right, and of course, we talk about that high-octane offense that comes with it, often used the Glass Cannon. There's always the option for it to kind of rewrite that narrative during any point of the game, often seeing moves like Follow Me.
Right.
Maybe even like a Final Gambit, potentially probably really unlikely to see that. Also gets access to like Quick Guard.
Yeah, so Lucario just it's got a lot of options. It can be used to, smack something, or it can be used to support the rest of your Pokemon.
Right.
Whichever it wants to go for, really. And, to me, that makes it even more deadly, right? Because you can't just be like, okay, yeah, this is going to be doing this. You have to account for all of the options that it has.
Right. You have to respect that's just kind of the thing with the SpaceX teams in general, is the number of options they have.
Exactly.
Like we saw with Ian earlier, playing defensively on your board early until you finally get the 2 restrictors in at the same time and get your board set up there. And then we've seen stuff where it's Joseph's team, where it's Gallade's punching holes through the team, and then, okay, I'm going to slow things down with the Crobat later. Like, there's just a lot of options that these teams can go for. And we do see Lucario come out turn 1, so I'd say it's a pretty decent spot here.
Yeah, so obviously Lucario doesn't want to stick around in front of a Groudon. Lucario has, at least in its Mega form, pretty similar physical and special offensive options, but the move pool just tends to support physical a little bit better.
Right.
Its physical fighting moves into Groudon, they'll do respectable damage, but you're going to be trading doing 50% damage to Groudon for an entire Pokemon.
Right,
so you have to balance that.
I think in a situation like this, that 50% damage you were talking about is really kind of lethal for Jeremy, because it's like, okay, you have close combat in the Groudon plus Ghost Move from Lunala, or Meteor Mash from Fini plus Ghost Move. Either slot could get KO'd right here, so it's really, this is just kind of the risk with Lucario, is there's a lot of options that go into playing it, having to make a lot of right calls and protect it. And we see Groudon actually wanting to switch out, so really good to see if you're the Lucario player on this side. The Incineroar coming back in, that's not, like, close, it will not be eating a -1 close combat.
Yeah,
if it goes for that.
so if Chongjun was going for a fighting type move into that Groudon, which was a perfectly reasonable move to be
Right.
making. You know, Incineroar is not going to appreciate taking that much damage. So we do see the Lucario going for the Mega Evolution. That is going to free up a lot of extra offensive power. And the close combat does connect with the Incineroar, picking up the one-hit KO. That's free damage. It's free damage.
Looking really similar to some of the earlier rounds where Incineroar comes in on the strong fighting type and disappears. Just really the strength of these teams, just a lot of offensive power in general. We see the Moon Guys being from Lunala doing some decent damage of its own here. Nature's Madness runs Tapu Fini. Going to be important breaking that Shadow Shield on Lunala.
Yeah, so Nature's Madness, in particular against Lunala, is just so great because you essentially ignore that Shadow Shield ability and just deal 50% anyways. So not a bad turn for Jeremy. He did lose his Incineroar in order to get 50% damage done to Lunala, but he did get an Intimidate down onto the Lucario as well.
Which is important because we talked about that potential of close combat and Ghost Move KOing. Now you're kind of forcing Chongjun into a position where if you want to KO my Groudon, you have to burn your Z move here. So very important there for that information. We actually Lucario just wanting to switch out here in favor of the Incineroar.
Yeah.
So great switch in here.
Yeah,
honestly.
so this is a good switch in. You know, obviously this Incineroar is risking a Precipice Blades, but it does get a pretty important Intimidate down, you know, and brings up Fake Out potential. And this Tailwind actually coming out from Lunala, that's going to really put Chongjun in a good position, right? It's going to give him several turns of being able to hit first.
Right. And that's big here because the Incineroar getting in for free as well. Being faster, you know, you just saw that Protect Burn, so maybe Groudon wants to switch out now. You get that switch, Incineroar able to U-turn out, maybe allow you to dodge something like just getting bouncing in and out. Could always fake out, or it could just be offensive Incineroar. We could see something like Dark Lariat, and now a Z move into that will KO the Groudon. So really safe play there from Chongjun.
Yeah.
If there was just a KO there from Groudon, then you have like probably Lucario Xerneas coming in, and then that's fine because your Xerneas is in a much better position to start getting a boost off. We see fake out
so we do
into
see the
Tapu
fake out
Fini.
into the Tapu Fini, and then this menacing Moonraze Maelstrom coming out. You know, likely into that Tapu Fini, I would think, to pick up that KO. It's hard to say.
You would have to imagine so, however, when you really look at Chongjun's team...
Although, I suppose if you were going for the Tapu Fini, there'd be no need to fake out.
Right.
So now I'm eating my words as we see it going into Groudon instead.
I think Groudon is the much better target there, because when you look at the team as a whole, there's really no great way of hitting Groudon. Like
For sure.
So getting this damage down is just really important, allowing Lucario to now safely KO, or even Xerneas to come to KO, without having the Geomancy boost.
Exactly. So we see that does, you know, right around 75% as Groudon actually goes for a Swords Dance. So that's going to make it very threatening, you know, once Tailwind expires and it gets a chance to attack.
Right.
But as it sits right now, Groudon's going to have to eat an attack from Lunala before it gets a chance to
Right,
move.
and with 2 turns of Tailwind left, another Icy Wind from Tapu Fini is not even going to save it. And meanwhile, you have to assume Chongjun's going to be U-turning out this Incineroar here. Probably
So
going into something...
reposition.
Right. Get the offensive powerhouse of Lucario, or even get the setup option with Xerneas going. Right here would be a great option to get Xerneas out, because if you're able to Geomancy and you force the Haze out of Tapu Fini, not
That
only
also
you're
takes
removing
away
the Swords Dance, and you're removing your own speed
Yeah,
drops
the
on
speed
your
drops.
Lunala. So, really great position here for Xerneas. Very questionable Swords Dance there, if I'm Jeremy. It's not a bad play per se, however, like, there's just so many more turns of Tailwind left for Chongjun to try and still KO.
And I mean, part of it is, like, you know, was Jeremy anticipating taking that Z move that turn? You know, if he was expecting, you know, just the base Moongeist to come out, you know, thinking maybe Chongjun wants to preserve that Z move or would use it to eliminate Tapu Fini, you know, they're slightly different. So now this Mega Lucario is in a position to KO this Groudon.
Yeah.
You know, and it could be in a position to KO Tapu Fini.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if here, more likely to go out the Tapu Fini with that Meteor Mash. We saw that Moongeist Beam won't KO the Tapu Fini here, so this
Yeah.
Meteor Mash will.
So we see the Meteor Mash into the top of Feeny. Groudon going for that double protect and not getting it, and Moonguy's Beam connecting with the Groudon now. It's likely going to pick up this KO.
Oh, very easily going to pick up this KO on the Groudon, and a huge lead from Chongyun.
Yeah.
We saw him put out that damage pressure early, capitalize on it. He really never let his foot off the gas here. Making sure he was in a position to always throw off these super strong attacks. And Jeremy was just really never in spots where he could ever answer back. We saw him try to start setting that up with Groudon, but he took so much damage where it just came really back to bite him.
For sure. And now we see, just Cresselia left as Jeremy's one remaining Pokemon. Cresselia is going to really struggle against that Lunala. So, wow, what a commanding game one by Chongyun.
Yeah. Really wasn't even close. Like,
yeah,
he was in control of that game the entire time.
From turn one, he got a free KO, he took a Nature's Madness, and then the Nature's Madness wound up being about the only damage he took besides some Icy Wind chip for the rest of the game. Just kept himself in a position, went for the throat and never left.
Right,
Really.
and that is the benefit, like we were talking about earlier, that is the benefit of this team, is it can just play so aggressively.
Exactly.
And I think he took one turn off to play defensively, and he set up Tailwind, and then he just used that Tailwind to just play super offensive, mitigating the defensive plays that Jeremy was making.
Yeah,
those Icy Winds.
He took away the option for Jeremy to take control back by setting that Tailwind.
Like, if he didn't take the turn to set up that Tailwind, those Icy Winds are a lot
They would have
bigger.
been much more crippling.
Right.
Exactly.
And just having that speed control option there is really important. I think Jeremy, if I'm making an adaptation for him, is definitely you have to preserve this Incineroar at a much better rate. I understand wanting to get an Intimidate off on Lucario, but there was so much that could have gone wrong, and it did go wrong. Like, you lost your Incineroar turn one.
Losing that Incineroar, losing any sort of fake-out pressure, losing probably one of his best checks to Lunala.
And we saw it was really the only answer to Lunala.
Yeah.
On top of that, like, Lunala just kind of cleaned up the rest of the game from there without any contest.
Lunala just did a lot of damage. So yeah, for Jeremy, to bring this back and force a game 3 is definitely going to need to play a little bit safer with his Incineroar and, figure out a way to not get overwhelmed by the incredible offense that Chongyun was putting out.
Right. And I think if you're Jeremy here, that Cresselia was a very interesting call on his part. I would think I would much rather prefer that to be something like a Xerneas or a Salamence, something where he can match it with either his own board control options like Tailwind, Intimidate, because Salamence would have been great there. For that Lucario, would have been a very nice option to have.
For sure.
Or if you have Xerneas, something where you can try and set up a Geomancy and force Chongyun to have to play around you rather than him just shoving the offense right down your throat.
Right. And I mean, I understand Xerneas is scary to bring when your opponent has a Lucario. So I definitely understand the reasoning here. And Chongyun, what is non-offensive play, leading out with both of these big restricteds, this Xerneas Lunala, right off the bat.
Yeah, that's a great team preview adaptation here from Chongyun. We saw that Lucario doing so much work, really just kind of, if you're knowing in the back of his mind, all right, he's got to respect this Lucario more.
Exactly.
At the beginning of the game, and Salamence is probably his best way to do that. What beats Salamence?
Xerneas.
So
Bingo.
Xerneas in a great position right now. Either can just go on the offense at this moment in time, or wants to take a turn to protect itself maybe. The nonsense of Tailwind is switching out right now, but he always had the option to get some speed control.
Right, there would have been an option for a Tailwind coming in. And I do really like this Incineroar switch in. It's going to give Chongyun fake out pressure, and it's also putting some Intimidates down on two Pokemon that tend to attack with physical attacks.
And I think this is also a great switch in, because we didn't see a Z move from Jeremy's team. So this Incineroar could be carrying that Insidium Z. We could see that Malicious Moonsault being fired off into the slot, or just the Darkest Lariat in general. So great switch for that. Xerneas actually just goes for Geomancy.
Go for the Geomancy.
Incineroar does carry Roar sometimes. I don't know if we saw it earlier, but there's always the potential for it to come out. So a little bit of a risky play there. However, still a great switch in for that Incineroar slot.
Yeah, so Chongyun, a lot of people prefer to use their Geomancy turn, on a turn that they have Follow Me, have Fake Out. Chongyun not going for that, just going for it instead. And Throat Chop actually comes out here. That's going to be pretty non-effective on that Incineroar. So what a great turn again for Chongjun.
Yeah, that's literally the best turn you could have asked
Yeah,
for, honestly.
like
Jeremy ignores the Xerneas, so you get a free boost, and Incineroar comes in. Suddenly, we talked about the switch-ins for the Lunala Lucario switch-ins last game. Where's the switch-in for Dazzling Gleam right here?
What's the Dazzling Gleam switch-in? So that deals a ton of damage to Incineroar, KOs the Salamence. I'm a little surprised to not see Fake Out, but I also don't mind going for the U-turn here, repositioning. Like, you're already in a commanding position. Let's get to a spot where you're in a better spot.
Right. Of course, we talked about Roar last turn. If he gets punished with the Roar now, Fake Out, he's probably going to be kicking himself. But we do see a U-turn come out.
We do see a U-turn, so that is going to allow Jeremy to reset his Fake Out pressure at the very least. If he chooses to bring in Incineroar in the slot Salamence was at. So it's not, end of the day, it's not the worst thing he could have done.
And we see this Groudon come in for Jeremy. Probably not the position you want your Groudon to be in. The Xerneas is boosted. The Lunala has its Z-move still available to it. Incineroar's in the back still to come in and weaken it.
For sure.
Really rough spot for Jeremy. Chongjun hitting Team Preview correct both games and really just showing dividends here. And we see Cresselia again.
So we do see this Cresselia now. I don't know. Cresselia just doesn't seem like the type of Pokemon that you want to have in front of Lunala and a boosted Xerneas.
We talked about it being bad for Groudon. It's 3 times as worse for Cresselia. We see Moonblast actually from Xerneas, so really kind of interesting play there.
So that actually doesn't deal a ton of damage to that.
No, very bulky Groudon, but I would have fully expected that to have been a Dazzling Gleam alongside this Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom into Cresselia, because the Cresselia wants to switch out for Incineroar. Incineroar dies at Dazzling Gleam. The Z-move gets burned onto the Groudon. But if this is still able to KO the Cresselia, then it's no big deal.
Right.
But, I don't know if Crest can live. I don't know my Cresselia 28, like my 2019 Ultra Series counts
for sure.
If it lives this and Groudon's able to go for a Swords Dance, then this game can turn around big time.
Say if it does survive this and Jeremy's able to get like a Swords Dance and a Trick Room up, he can definitely turn things around. But yeah, Cresselia, no match for that Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom. Is gonna be returning to the trainer as Swords Dance does come out.
Just dropping there. Swords Dance coming out. A little bit of too little too late there, honestly.
For sure.
We see Cresselia tried its best, but Lunala showing why it's really the main reason that Cresselia is not really a threat in this format anymore.
Yeah, so, now Jeremy's got Incineroar, boosted Groudon out, but Chongjun can just double protect here, burn the Fake Out turn. So if Jeremy's able to punish that with a Roar to reset this Xerneas, he's still got an uphill battle. It's not looking good, but he's got to go for it, right?
Right. That play last turn was the play he needed to make. Like, if there was any chance he wanted to win, then he had to get that Swords Dance Trick Room up. However, just the sheer damage output from this duo, which is way too much for Cresselia
just the offensive pressure that Chongjun is keeping up, and not just pressure, but actually the overwhelming offense.
Right.
Is really keeping Jeremy pinned and preventing him from playing the game he wants to play.
Yeah, we do see that Xerneas protect. So if there is a Roar, maybe it comes out here.
Roar, so no Fake Outs, so we could be seeing that coming out.
I feel like we probably would have seen it already, though.
By now.
Yeah.
He's had plenty of opportunities to go for it as Moongeist Beam goes into the Groudon, leaving it with just a sliver of HP.
Yeah, we see this Precipice Blade's definitely going to be KOing this Lunala.
Yeah, so,
+2.
Shadow Shield had been broken, and Groudon's at +2. Its attack is nothing to sneeze at.
And we see Throat Chop come out. So, yeah.
So I do imagine, there's no Roar on this Incineroar. A little bit of a waste of its name, but, that's how it goes.
And we see Lucario coming back out. Really just to wrap this up to formality.
Yeah, at this point,
the combination of Moonblast.
Chongjun is just a Dazzling Gleam away from taking himself to Top Cut and playing tomorrow.
Right, and that was just so well played. Making those calls in Team Preview right each game.
Exactly, getting the leads perfect, and then the turn one, like, turn one, I could have gone very differently, but Chongjun was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for this geomancy. Like, I've seen how Jeremy is playing. I anticipate him to, you know, maybe he's expecting me to play it safer, and he didn't, and was rewarded handsomely for that.
Right, just capitalizing on the offensive potential of his team here.
And then there we go. We do see close combat to pick up the KO, and that is going to be taking Chongjun to top cut.
Yeah, so we see another Xerneas Lunala team in top cut. Joseph Castagliola made cut this round after defeating Kyle Livinghouse. We saw Xerneas Lunala win this regional last year, so maybe it's kind of some writing on the wall for a repeat.
It's all about that SpaceX. You know, Elon Musk must have bought out all of Tennessee.
But really looking forward to see how he plays in Top Cut. Jeremy is one of the best players in the world.
Jeremy is no slouch. You know, this man has been right.
And Chongjun just ran over him with no regard. He dealt like that. Those were 2 3-0s, and it wasn't like we're talking about the games with Joseph Ugarte and James Evans earlier, where it's a battle of board position. No, it was like a replication of their game 3, where Chongjun is just had the running over with the offense.
You know, hammered it until the end.
Making the plays he needs to make, and just foot was on the gas, never came off, and really well played. So super excited to see how he is in Top Cut.
I'm really excited to see this.
He's a name that I'm not familiar with, and I don't think a lot of people are familiar with. If I'm wrong, I apologize for that. But I'm really interested to see what kind of damage he can do in Top Cut tomorrow.
You know, this man, again, I also haven't, not a name I'm familiar with, and, making a name for himself today. So we've actually got Chongjun here to join us for an interview. So give us just a second. We'll get him on the mic. All right, Pokemon fans, I'm joined at the desk with Chongjun Peng.
Hello, everyone.
Who just won round 7 of the Pokemon Regional Championships. Going to take him to Top Cut. So you were just telling me this is your first regional.
Yeah, it's my first regional, but I practice a lot for this regional.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how did you practice? Did you have friends or did you just play online?
I played online and practiced with my friend with some matchups. I think it's hard for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, what a great run for your first regional. Let's talk about your games a little bit, right?
Yeah.
In both games, you were in the lead for most of each game that you were playing, right? You know, so game 1, turn 1, Jeremy switches in his Incineroar, and you just KO it right away with the Mega Lucario. So, we haven't seen a whole lot of Mega Lucario. Why did you choose to bring that today?
Because Mega Lucario could hit the Incineroar, which Shernala is hard to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And it could give the big damage to most Pokemon.
Right. That's something we definitely mentioned. Even though it wasn't super effective against most things, it threatened a lot of damage. So, did you see Lucario carrying its weight today? Really helping pick up some KOs? Excellent.
I love it. And I just want to give some damage to the Groudon.
Yeah.
To ensure that my Lunala Z move could KO that.
Okay.
I never predict that Incineroar would be coming on.
Okay, so you weren't expecting Incineroar to go there. You just wanted damage on the Groudon. And
but
it
it's
worked
also
out.
heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about in game 2, turn 1 again? You just click Geomancy. Were you worried about a double target or something to prevent Xerneas from getting Geomancy up?
I'm worried about the roar here, but I think it's a best option here because if I Geomancy and no roar here, I will be in a good advantages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So getting that Geomancy up, it almost sealed the game right there.
Yeah.
Once you had that up, Jeremy was playing from behind for the rest of that game, and you really kept pressing. So do you have anybody you want to thank that helped you out, or anything you want to say to the viewers at home, advice or anything else about coming to your first regional?
Uh, I want to I want to thank Yihui and Bingjie, bring me to the VGC community.
Okay.
They helped me a lot, and Yihui take me to this regional.
Okay. Yeah. So you've done awesome.